a good gaming morning to you, whether you're tossing dice, whether you're stroking that brush or mashing them buttons. We have your six on all things gaming. My name is Michael Smith.
And I am Eddie Jakes.
And we are Basement Quest as always, and we are still quarantined. I'm in a little box. I can't stand it, man.
Week 2 of the social distancing.
We're not actually quarantined. Me and Ed are very much still in the workforce right now. We're very much on the front lines here still, which is why we actually, if we were quarantined, it'd probably be a heck of a lot easier for us to catch up on some of these episodes and not be behind like we are this second. But we're once again bringing it to you over the beautiful Skypeness and through the beautiful editing of Eddie himself with the Roadcast. So the show must go on even through quarantine.
Yep, and unfortunately, because everything is going on, we have been forced to postpone the first Dead Rain game.
Oh, I was so upset about that, man.
I know one of our friends, unfortunately, we pretty sure he's okay, but he showed a couple symptoms and his workplace was a little concerned, so he's gonna have to take a time off. And then since was a couple weeks ago, he gave us his cold. Well, gave me.
He gave everybody it, man. Everybody just took it different ways. I mean, you unfortunately.
Oh, it hit me hard. Yeah, it hit me hard. Like I still got a little bit of a I'm about to say it. Like I got a cough. Yes, folks, I have a cough. Yeah. And but I don't have a fever. But yeah, no, exactly. He spread that around. Except
a lot of people, I think. While we got you guys' attention on this, make sure you guys hit that bell. Make sure you hit that subscribe for us. It does us a big favor. But keep at home right now, people. Like it's crazy. You know, the amount of people that just don't seem to care. Like they're just like, whatever, it doesn't affect me. I'm not going to get sick anyways. You know, there's plenty of things that you can do. Listen to podcasts, for example. Yes, you can listen to them at home. At your computer. That's what I was saying. While you're like working on your next exciting campaign, which I've been doing, seeing as how the game's not happening tomorrow, I just opened it back up, started tweaking even more. I'm like, well, you know what? I didn't quite like this. I'm going to change this. So, but hey, hopefully by the time this is all over, it'll be like the most epic of zombie apocalyptic campaigns. Well, you know what I'll tell you, man? One of the biggest things that I've noticed is sometimes, especially when it comes to like last minute things and things that you got to change, when it comes down to it, when you make these last minute changes, you know, you can really make a difference in a lot of these games. And sometimes it's for the better. And sometimes actually for the story wise, you know, that works as well. Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, and it's funny too, cause I was talking with our good friend Lee, who's going to be joining us. And, he has also been running, a Dead Rain campaign with his other group. Yes. And he was actually joking that me and him might have actually inadvertently brought on the apocalypse with our enthusiasm for this game. Which I almost kind of agree with, man. I know. It's like, oops. But, all right, so let's break down the meat and potatoes for everybody, because this is our Cleric guide this week, as well as some nifty Palladium tidbits that Eddie has found for you. 5th edition D&D is very simple, as we've actually been taking you guys through these guides. I really hope that you guys enjoy them, number one. But the main reason why we're doing these, like I said before, is to kind of like, if you're wondering about this class, we give you the ideas of what's the meat and potatoes behind it and what makes it special and unique for that and how you want to take it. So everybody knows what clerics are. They're pretty much the healers of the group, and they are the best way to heal the group. There are other ways of going about it. Your rangers have it. Your bards have the ability to heal, but your main healer is going to be your cleric. Class features, biggest thing obviously is the spell casting. You know, the cleric is a wisdom-based spellcaster, so you want to make sure that you prepare your spells at the beginning of the day. There's a really cool thing that the Wizard of the Coast came out with. And you know, a lot of the things, it's, you know, a lot of these things are like, you know, made to make money. They're like little gimmick things here and there, but they do have spell cards, that they came out with for the 5th edition spellcasters. And I do recommend going out and dropping the $20 or whatever it is for the cleric cards, it's worth it, because instead of you writing down what spells you're going to pick, you can actually literally lay them on the ground. That is the one thing. Clerics do have to, obviously prepare their spells ahead of time. But if you choose Divine Domain, it grants you free prepared spells, allowing you to actually play the domain's theme without cutting into your normal prepared spells. So there's ways you can get around it, but for the most part, don't forget, you do have to actually get those spells prepared. Hit points, you're not bad with 8 hit points, or D8 to start off with. The thing is, you're on the front lines. So you have to watch out for stuff like that. Your saves are pretty good. Wisdom and Charisma are going to be your biggest ones. But of course, Wisdom you're going to want to have high anyways, because that's going to be where your spells come from. The different, the main abilities, obviously, coming into it, your Channel Divinity, which is you're pretty much, while turning undead, you channel a divinity and it makes the ability greater. It'll provide one or more additional uses in which you should be able to use for a short rest between there. The effects are both potent and very extremely useful. Of course, the biggest thing that everybody is known for as far as a cleric, destroy undead. Enemies weak enough to be destroyed. This will be killed with any number of AoE spells, which is nice, because then you can actually intertwine those. And like I said before, the Divine Intervention, it won't work until the 20th level. This is before what we talked about, where you're actually subclass, or not subclassing, when you're multi-classing, and you get stuck with not getting the level 20. And this is the one thing that you do, it does kind of hurt you, because by the time you get there, when you're level 20, it's like 19 or 10 to 19% of the time it actually works. So that's at level 20. So I mean, you take that ability away from a cleric, and that takes a whole lot away from it. Obviously, strength is a dump, in my opinion. It's a dump stat. Dexterity, not a bad stat if you want to kind of toss it in there, if you want to be lightly armored or medium armored. If you're going to be a heavily armored cleric, dump stat. Constitution, obviously, it's a nice idea to go with that, because that gives you the bonus. Intelligence, dump stat. If you're going to be a knowledge cleric, which we'll get into, put it towards that, but for the most part, dump stat. Wisdom, big time. Clerics, pretty much all their spells depend on wisdom, so the higher the wisdom, the better the spell. Charisma, once again, clerics, you tend to be the face of the party, so you can be that charismatic person if you don't have a rogue, or if you don't have a ranger, or somebody that has the face. So charisma, if you need that ability in your party, that's a good way to go. Races, obviously, really dwarf our, big times. Furbergs, which are those crazy looking flockers. Elves, not so much. Humans, absolutely. Lizard folk, big time. The turtles, which I love the turtles. If you ever want to be a weird ass Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle looking guy, go with those. And
I wonder where they got that idea from. Yeah.
Ideal for the cleric. And then I'll break down the other things for you, and you go ahead and hit them with what you got.
All right, so one of the things I love about Palladium is they have these, what they call optional occupational character classes, or optional race classes. This is an interesting character. I was doing a little reading the other day. It is called the Monk Scholar. Now, this is an optional OCC, and it's a different kind of character class in the sense that it's not they don't use magic, and it's not a really big fighting class either. The Monk Scholars are very unique characters. Although difficult to play, they are men, and this is going to trigger some people, women are not allowed, men of learning who have dedicated their lives to the acquisition of mystic and spiritual knowledge. Their goal is said to be the accumulation of knowledge that can unlock the mysteries of the universe for the benefit of mankind. However, while the good of mankind may be a consideration, the monks are very secretive and careful to conceal the fruits of their research until they feel the world is ready for it. So basically, your entire purpose is to learn as much as you can, and even if, say, you've got the cure for the plague, if the plague is happening and you don't feel it's time to cure the plague, you won't.
Right.
Very interesting character.
The other thing is, I don't think I've ever seen not for nothing, a female monk. Ever.
No, they would.
Like in every comic or every movie or anything I've ever seen, it's not like it's sexist. That's just one of the things. That monks do.
It's just how it's always been.
Even non-fighting monks, they take the vow of celibacy or whatever the fuck it's called.
Well, they have some priestess OCCs and stuff.
What is it? The monks that are out in Germany, same thing. They don't fight; they just make beer. They make incredible beer.
Exactly.
That's their claim to fame. So
they're like plus monks, 20 beer.
Monks just aren't women.
This unilateral discretion means that fabulous information in their hands could be released next week or 1,000 years from now. As a result, their monasteries are frequently hidden in remote regions or under the protection of a royal family or kingdom, who is often advised by the monks in matters of magic and supernatural. Their magnificent monastery libraries, as well as personal knowledge and journals, are jealously guarded and always kept in a secret place. This means the rarest and most valuable writings are hidden in secret place in the monastery and not in the general library. So basically, you spend your entire life writing and collecting knowledge, and you keep it stashed away. So that could be something you can use in a potential game.
Right.
All monk scholars have taken a vow of silence and secrecy regarding their knowledge, speaking only when the leaders of the monastery have deemed it time to speak. It is said that a monk will suffer 1,000 torments and die before sharing the slightest bit of information to anyone who deems unworthy or not ready. Should a monk ever break his vow of pacifism, his brothers ceremoniously burn his pens and parchments and weep for him as if he is considered dead. He can never be a monistic monk again and must choose a new OCC. A defrocked monistic monk loses his bonuses to save versus magic and poisons.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Quite interesting. Now,
that's a really cool set.
It is. And they have their own little evasive combat. They get their own special bonuses for it. They don't have. Here's the thing with this monk: nothing they do is really offensive. Most of it is defensive. Dodge bonuses count only in normal dodge. Backflip dodge bonus apply only the backflip maneuver. They start with 2 actions.
The D&D monk is. Well, I haven't gotten to the subclasses or done the monk yet, but for the most part, it seems like it's an offensive striker.
Well, here's the thing. This is what's interesting. So level 1, the monk starts with 2 actions, not attacks, per melee round. Instead of parrying, the character gets to automatically try to dodge each attack. So in Palladium, what you have is an automatic parry. So someone goes to punch you, you get a free parry. If you want to dodge, you have to waste an attack to dodge. Now the monk gets a free dodge. Roll for each, defender win ties, excellent sense of balance, walk on type route, yada yada. Level 2, they get +2 to dodge, +1 on initiative. So then they're up to 3 actions. Again, keyword there being action. Level 3, +2 to roll with punch or fall, 4 additional melee action per round, 5 backflip, +2 backflip dodge bonus. Almost as you go up, everything is dodge. There's like very little offensive in this with the monk. So the monk would never initiate combat, and in defending themselves doesn't look like they won't break pacifism. So as a player, not only are you playing a character, he doesn't really use magic. All he does is collect information, and you are not allowed to attack your opponent.
Wow.
Because if you break your vow of pacifism, you're excommunicated.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. I found this like completely fascinating to the point that I would love to try to play a character like this sometimes.
Story-wise, would be crazy.
Yes. One thing that I found was very interesting is the monk scholar and which I'll get into a little bit later, the Minotaur race have like deep connections in the game. Yes. Because the Minotaur race is very like there's a lot of magic behind that and their lineage and everything. It gets into allegiances. Obviously, they have allegiances to certain gods and stuff, which you would pick and you would study and everything. Special knowledge, abilities, and bonuses. Blessings. All prayers of blessings are intended to show a god's favor on those who believe in and or worship him. Such short prayers usually take about 1 melee round, but should be performed on only one person or item per each prayer. To try to bless a crowd of people or numerous items diminishes the effectiveness of the prayer, meaning no bonuses. Each prayer or blessings provides some small measure of protection to the faithful for a period of 2d4 weeks, unless indicated otherwise. I hear Sasha playing with a squeaky.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to mute it.
Did you get Sasha the pig? Oh, Buzz loves his pig. Folks, if you have a dog, go to Walmart, get the pig. They love the pig. Seriously, he goes nuts for that pig. It is annoying, but man, the dogs love it. All right, back to the blessing. Blessing of water transforms ordinary water into holy water. Blessed water has no obvious effects on most people and can be used to wash or drink without difficulty. However, to vampires, ghouls, and the occasional other supernatural menace, holy water is like acid. A single vial will inflict 3d6 damage. Furthermore, a vampire or any undead cannot enter a circle drawn in holy water. Blessed water retains the blessing indefinitely. So if you have one of these characters in your group and you're dealing with undead, pretty handy to have someone who can take your rations and turn them into holy water.
Yeah. Especially if you're getting freaking stalked by one of those things. We all know how that can go.
Oh, yeah. Blessing of a person. A blessed person is +1 to save versus disease and supernatural possession. Very, very important, especially like if you're playing a setting similar. If you're running a game similar like Ravenloft, where there's a lot of possession and ghosts and stuff like that, so that can come in very handy.
Yeah.
Blessing of food. Food is +1 to save versus spoiling magic and disease decay. So again, you can protect your rations or anything from, if they're from rot or whatever. Exorcism. A successful exorcism will drive out, banish any entity or demon from a possessed person, animal, dwelling, or area. The exorcised creatures cannot return to the place or person for at least 6 months and are likely to never return. 86% likelihood of never returning. A successful exorcism performed in an area such as a graveyard, tomb, etc. will destroy all animated skeletons, corpses, and mummies which inhabit the area of exorcism. Ghouls and zombies will be banished for 10 months, while the greater supernatural creatures, including lesser devils and demons, vampires, ghosts, wraiths, and specters, are banished for 6 months. So pretty intense. So even at level 1, you can cast Exorcism and completely wreck an undead army. Very cool. Penance,
very cool.
Penance and sacrifice. The techniques used for self-denial and the exploration of oneself and environment include meditation, fasting, and vows of abstinence and silence. As a result, a monk can resist thirst for 2 days per level of experience and resist hunger for 3 days per level of experience. Although the monk is able to ignore the pain and discomfort and function as close to normal, the physical body does suffer damage from dehydration, starvation, etc. So while you will still get hurt, you can push through that and maintain pluses and so forth, which is cool. Magic knowledge. The monk scholar knows a great deal about magic and the supernatural to the point that he can read most magic symbols and understands the basic principles of spell casting and circle making. However, the monk scholar never uses magic for any reason. To actually wield or use magic is seen as becoming too involved and threatens the objectivity of the monk. Thus, they will never cast a spell, use a circle, read a scroll, or engage in any magic ceremony. Although they will watch, study, and try to understand such things, even the use of magic items and magic potions is done with great reservation and concern. Only the use of most innocuous and benign types of magic will be considered, and even then, the monk will likely use something like healing potion or someone else rather than himself. Recognize enchantment. Just as a doctor can recognize the flu symptoms and disease, the monk scholar can recognize the influence of magic and charms. Pretty much speaks for itself. They can recognize magic, power words. The monk scholar knows 4 simple words as well as the names of the old ones, but not in the context of their symbolism or exact use in diabolism or summoning magic. This knowledge is never shared. So they'll understand it, they read it, they won't use it, they won't tell you what it is either. So if you're playing one of these characters, say, and you're like, you know what it is, you can't tell them what it is, you might still be able to say, guys, we should probably leave.
Yeah.
Magic symbols. The monk knows,
and they should listen to you.
They should probably listen to you. Yep. The monk scholar knows 12 basic mystic symbols, the 4 elemental symbols, and symbolic colors. The knowledge is never shared. Again, a lot of it is secrecy with this. So you'll know more than your other players, but you won't share the knowledge. Recognize true wards and rune symbols. Speaks for itself. Recognize magic circles. Permanent PPE base. 2d6 plus physical endurance attribute number and 1d4 per level experience. However, this mystic energy is a result of the character's spiritualism and pursuit to understand magic. A monk scholar is not a practitioner of magic and shuns the use of it. That's basically the meat and potatoes of it. So once again, you got a character class. It's not offensive. It's more defensive. But it would be in addition to any group where they understand so much and are able to guide the other players in a certain way without flat out giving the game away. Right. So as a game master, you could pretty much say to this person playing this character, you know everything that's going on. You've read about it. You can't share it.
Yes.
Can you imagine how the other players would be just knowing that? Who would be the first one to torture the monk?
Oh my God. I don't think they play with us anymore.
No, they probably wouldn't. But so I don't know. I read up on this yesterday and I was like, wow, this is really fascinating. Like I said, I haven't really delved deep into these books since we started diving into these guides. I've really gotten back into the fantasy books, and I was just reading the class. I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to talk about this. This is interesting. This is where it's really important to role play, people. Yeah. Role play. But what else you got?
All right. So I'm going to break down the feats real quick. Actually, let me break down the skills. Obviously, history, insight, medicine, persuasion, and religion. History is very important for you. Medicine, it's funny. As a healer, you would think you want to take medicine, but you're already a healer. So medicine doesn't really help you. Medicine essentially helps somebody who doesn't have healing magic, and you want to, like, say, save somebody from, passing on until the cleric gets there. So that's not a big thing for you. Persuasion, not so much. Religion, yes. History, yes. And insight, yes. I'd work on those. Backgrounds. Well, we all know the background. Some of the best ones to go with, obviously, Colistered Scholar. Knowledge skills are hard for most clerics, but if you put some resources into intelligence, you can have up to 4 knowledge skills. Not bad. Criminal. A tricky cleric with a decent dexterity could use this to partially replace a rogue in a party. Just a thought. Hermit. Medicine isn't terribly useful, but medicine and the insight for both the wisdom and herbalism kit allows you to, catch this, make healing potions. Oh my goodness. Noble, obviously, persuasion and languages are fine, but half the background is wasted. Sage, knowledge skills are great, and the ability to have 4 knowledge skills is even better. Urban bounty hunter, once again, what we know as a tricky cleric, a rogue cleric that would help you out. And urchin, once again, tricky cleric, decent dexterity, once again could replace the party rogue, which I don't think you ever would. I think usually a good round party has a good rogue with it. Feats. Alert. That's going to help you because obviously you'll be going first. And as a cleric, that's not a bad thing to be going first, because come the end of that first round, you'll get to know who's hurt worst, and then you can kind of like go from there. Or hold your attack back for that person. Say, trigger when homeboy gets down to 10 hit points. I'll get this spell off. And then your DM allows that to happen. Actor, once again, this goes for a tricky character, tricky cleric. Elemental Adapt. This actually helps you deal more damage. necrotic, and actually radiant damage, both of which are very rarely resisted. It's actually a nice way to go. Heavily armor mastered. If you're going to be a frontline cleric, this is a no-brainer. Inspiring leader. Once again, as a cleric, you're on the front lines. You heal people. You're a natural leader. People look towards you, especially if there's no paladin in the party. Cleric is going to be your leader. Magic innate. If they get the spells they need, including cantrips, you can go outside of your class, and including different domains like a warcaster or the other options like that. So it's not a bad way to go. Medium armor mastery. Once again, only if you plan on making that tricky cleric, this is a good way to go. Resilient. Why wouldn't you want to be resilient as a cleric? Because you're to be the last one to die. That's always a good thing. Sentinel. Melee clerics can be very effective, obviously. Skilled. Another one. I always say smell sniper. Spell sniper. It's not a bad. A lot of people will go with it, but there's very few cleric spells that actually require attack rolls. Now, if you go outside, which you're allowed to, if you go outside of your spell casting range and you pick from other dominions, then you might have that. But to have that out there, not so much. Warcaster, I would kind of go more towards, if you want my opinion. Weapons you want to go with. Light crossbow is a good idea. Javelin's a good idea. And mace, obviously, is the most iconic weapon of a cleric. Hammers aren't bad, but mace really gets the job done, especially if you're on the front lines and you want to carry a shield. Armor, you want to go full plate. You want a shield, or at least half plate. I know you can play this quote-unquote tricksy cleric, but why? What is the point? You're taking away so much from the ability of a cleric to be that frontline role model, to be that person that needs to be on the front line, that you ain't gonna do it. Multi-classing. I don't really like when you do the whole multi-class thing. It kind of takes away from everything. But if you're going to go anywhere, go wizard. Obviously, it's the smartest way to go. Make it white and black. There you go. And then I'm going to break down the subclasses, if you will. And we will start with this first one, and then we'll pass it on back to Palladium. So the first one, obviously, it's your basic spellcasting cleric, the Arcana. Arcana cleric steals some options from the wizard, giving the cleric a lot more abilities and support options, as well as being a defensive figure on the stage. So you get, first level, you get Detect Magic, which is one of the most useful, important things of the game, to be honest with you. Magic Missile is fantastic and reliable for damage, but let's be honest, Detect Magic is probably one of the most overlooked spells out there, and it can get you so much information. Remember that as a player, people. Remember that. Third level, both simultaneously. You can use both of them at best, pretty much. Fifth level, you get Dispel Magic. It's extremely useful. Once again, these are things that, as a cleric out there, you don't normally have this. This is coming from the magic, from the mage's standpoint. So if you didn't have a mage, having this arcane cleric out there is a good way to protect you from spells. The Arcane Eye, it's a good way to scout areas. You can look at, check out an area, difficult terrain area, dangerous areas, etc., and so forth. There's a secret chest option. It's a weird option that people don't use a lot of, but it's a good way to store your sensitive and dangerous quest items away so they don't get taken, stolen, or otherwise misplaced. Especially when it comes to cursed weapons, they have a nice way of walking away on you. Arcane Initiate is a free skill, and you get to use 2 cantrips. Wizards have a very diverse set of options with some excellent effects. You don't have to use them all the time, but this is a good way to actually have them. Channel Divinity. It's a situational by outsiders, very common, which obviously if you have Celestials, Elementals, Fays, and Fiends, they will actually do more damage to them. You can't actually banish them, but what it'll do is it'll double the damage that you're doing from them. Spellbreaker, you have Healing Word prepared, and you should, obviously. You can raise it a level to whatever you need, whatever debuff you need as a bonus action. So you can spend a bonus action to level increase your spell as you need. very nice ability, especially if you're really low on hit points and you got to get that fighter that extra boost there. Potent in spell casting. This is already great for the most clerics, but it's especially good for the arcane cleric because your free wizard cantrips are treated as cleric cantrips, so they get the bonus damage too. Don't forget, cantrips are free. They're free spells. You don't have to. You don't have to study them. They're right off the bat. You don't have to have them set aside. So that's a nice thing for a cleric to have, these guaranteed spells. 9 times out of 10 is probably going to be your magic missile or something like that, something to that effect. And of course, arcane mastery. It's probably one of the best abilities that this class has. It's absurdly versatile. Number of potential options is absolutely huge. I mean, you can go out of your way to pretty much include anything with this. It's, of course, being at the higher level, that's where you want to use it. I'll let me get one more and then I'll pass it on to you. This one I'm not highly fond of. It's a good class. It almost kind of reminds me of a cleric necromancer, if you will. And that's the death domain. Highly offensive domain. Death adds martial weapon proficiency and a lot of options for dealing single target damage. The Dominion actually does lock any support and utility options. So if your party wants buffs, you're not going to get it from this guy. Domain spells. These are a lot of good options, some of which aren't on the cleric list, and some of them you can only find here. First level, you get False Life. It's a buff at any level. The hit points aren't big, but once within an hour, you can afford to spend the one spell slot several times a day to reduce the need to heal your allies. So you don't have the ability to constantly spell or to heal like your basic clerics do, but you do have the ability to do it there. Third level, you get the effects for both of those. Fifth level, Animate Dead. This is where the whole necromancy thing comes in. Frequent recasting on 5th edition. So you have to prepare every day, or having it prepared for every day is a nice thing. Vampiric Touch is a great way to combine the healing damage output, and that also isn't available to most clerics, as you know. This is only available for the Death Cleric itself. 7th level, Bright deals decent damage, especially against plants, but it doesn't scale particularly well when it has a secondary effect. Death Ward seems kind of out of place in the Death domain, but it's a really good buff. 9th level, Anti-Life Shell is a good way to protect yourself, but everybody, if you remember this, and I'm sure you do, Ed, Cloud Kill. Everybody's favorite freaking cleric spell, baby. It's back, and it's in full fucking monstrosity, full effect. Bonus proficiency, martial weapons are nice, but the difference between a mace and a longsword really isn't significant, since clerics never get that extra attack. It's not really going to be too big of a thing, but it will help you if you have that shield in your other hand. Reaper, the only choices are Chill Touch and Spare the Dying. Spare the Dying is already a cleric cantrip, so Chill Touch is the only way you can obviously go. It's not a very reasonable choice, but it is the only option, although it does do more damage that way. Touch of Death, it really doesn't sound, it's not as good as it sounds. It's a good way to do things, but it's, like I said, it's not, it could be better. Inescapable Destruction. If you took Chill Touch and you did a couple of the other spells, especially with necrotic damage, this could pretty much be like a creme, like the coup de grace to all your undead peoples. Mm-hmm. Divine Strike, it helps you keep your damage on par with your cantrips. Don't forget, as a cleric, you're not doing a whole lot of damage. You're doing constant, but you're not doing a whole lot of damage, and this kind of lets you get some extra bonuses. Improved Reaper is the last ability on this, and that's many powerful necromancy spells like Blight and Finger of Death are single targets. The ability to affect 2 targets with 1 casting double their effectiveness. So you can actually take 2 of the most powerful necromancy spells and double them onto 2 targets, going the death route of the cleric.
Nice. Very nice.
Pretty scary.
Yes, definitely. Seriously, there are certain spells like they're so effective, but I hate them at the same time. So like the Cloud Kill is one of them, and
Cloud Kill is brutal.
And in Palladium, there's a spell they have that I absolutely despise, but one of our good friends always uses it. Float. I don't know why. Just uses float all the time. Every situation. I float. Like, you walk in a room, there's like 10 kobolds with swords. I float. Stop floating.
Yeah, stop. Stop the float.
Stop floating, bro. Just floating is for when you fall. So, yeah. Our next Palladium character class is a pretty exciting one. It's another psychic character class called the Illusionist. The Illusionist is similar to the Mind Mage. The character is empowered with natural psionic abilities that he can use to manipulate the senses of his victims to create realistic illusions. The power of this psionic illusion is in its most basic form can be thought of as a form of hypnosis, and at higher levels, mass hypnosis. Through a type of telepathic influence and mental stimulation, the illusionist is able to implant convincing sounds, images, and sensations in a person's mind. To the victim, they are very real, while those around him see and experience nothing out of the ordinary. So the same psionic limitations and requirements apply. You have to roll for either major psionic, master psionic. But the illusionist has very interesting abilities as opposed to the Mind Mage or any of the other psychic character classes. Seeing through an illusion. Individuals who save against a psionic attack of an illusionist are totally ineffective and do not see, hear, or experience the illusion in any way. The illusionist can, of course, try again by expending more ISP on a new attack. The intended victim must again roll the save versus psionic illusionary attack. So basically it goes back and forth like it would any other psionic. Seeing through the psionic illusion after falling victim to it is another story entirely. If a save or psionic attack is unsuccessful, the person is inexorably caught in the web of illusion. The brain and senses are being directly affected, so the person has no reason to disbelieve it. A simple matter of seeing is believing. Only sights, sounds, and sensations are implanted in his mind, despite what any of his friends and allies may insist on the contrary. So you're seeing stuff, the other player characters, like, what is wrong with you? You don't believe them. Right. It's the bottom line. You will believe what you see and hear. He may even believe the others must be bewitched or mistaken. A mental illusion can seem so real to a person that nothing can break its hold. Furthermore, the illusionist can manipulate things in such a way as to transform a friend into a monster before the poor fellow's very eyes and manipulate the senses in such a way that the illusion responds just as the character imagines it would. Matters are compounded in that those not under the illusion's influence have little or no idea of what the afflicted venturer is experiencing. To break out of mental illusion is extremely difficult, for the person must be completely sure it is not real. The shadow of a doubt at the last minute could have terrible consequences. Depending on the circumstances, and GMs be careful, it says, the victim of an illusion may attempt to fight it by convincing himself that it's not real. One way is if the other character in the groups present a convincing argument or evidence to show the illusion for what it really is or isn't, as the case may be. This reality check gives a character a chance to make a new roll save versus psionic attack with a bonus of +2 to save. A successful save means the illusion completely vanishes. Furthermore, the character is +2 to save on all subsequent illusionary attacks and hypnosis for the next 6 hours. So if your friends can convince you that it's wrong, that gives you a bonus if they try any other illusions. Good example of this is the last Spider-Man movie with Mysterio.
Bingo. I was going to say Mysterio in general, and it's not even just the movie itself, because that's why Mysterio was so dangerous to Spider-Man, was Spider-Man truly believed the illusions were real. Therefore, his spidey sense didn't kick in. He didn't sense danger. There was no danger to be ready for. And that's why Mysterio was such a dangerous fucking enemy to him. Yes,
exactly. So if that's the type of character you want to play, the Illusionist is probably best for you. So there's other ways that break an illusion: a sharp blow to the head or stun or knocks out the character. That'll break the mental contact, but your character is knocked out for 20 minutes. Another way to fight the effects is by noticing inconsistencies or flaws in reality, such as no heat from a flame, or a massive creature walking out of a small room, and so on. If these things are noticed, the player can roll to see if his character is convinced that is an illusion. This reality check gives the character a chance to make a new roll, save versus psionic attack, as often once every melee round with a bonus of +2 to save. So, as an illusionist, if you slip up with your illusion and the victim notices it, they gain that +2 as if your friends convinced you it wasn't real. In a similar vein, the use of magic or psionic detection spells can be a great advantage in combating illusions. A sense magic, sense evil, see the invisible, and X-ray vision can also be useful in realizing the sights and sounds or illusions. Also, psionic probes such as see aura, detect psionic, sense magic, sense good and evil, telepathy, and presence sense are extremely helpful, providing the psionic individual with a bonus of +3 to save versus illusions. Can be tried once per melee round. Here's why. Illusions have no physical substance, and the illusionist has no way of knowing what mystic or psionic probe will be used, so he can't compensate to fake out the probes. Consequently, nothing will register because it's not real. An illusion is not evil, magic, or psionic in itself. The illusionist is psionic or evil, but not the illusion. Nor does it have an aura or thoughts to be picked up from telepathic scan. Most convincing of all, it has no presence. Remember, the illusion is the direct result of psionic manipulation and stimulation of the parts of the brain that control sensory perception. Note all characters' bonus to save versus psionics apply to save versus illusion because it is to a psionic attack. So the illusion is coming from your own brain, so certain spells may not work the way that you want them to because there is nothing there. It's not really there. So you're kind of throwing spells at something that isn't really there.
Right.
Death by illusion. An illusion can appear to be so realistic that the person under its influence can be made to believe that he is being beaten, slashed, mashed, burned, etc. Depending on the level of the illusionist and the number of senses affected by his illusion, the victim of the psionic attack can be made to feel the slice of a blade or the heat of a fire. Because he is directly linked to the illusion, he is part of its actions and imagines suffering damage from its attack, bleeding, burning, etc. Even though all of this is imaginary, the player must roll damage for his character as if it was real. Combat can be short or drawn out depending on the victim's perception of his enemy, overwhelming and equal, a wimp, etc. And the intentions of the illusionist. When the living character believes his hit points have been reduced to 0 or below, he will believe he has died and will collapse. In reality, his body is whole and healthy, but the illusion has created such a flood of sensations that it shocks his system, temporarily knocking him out for 2d4 melee rounds. If the death is particularly gruesome, the character may remain unconscious for twice as long and or suffer permanent mental side effects. GM discretion. If the illusion of death is extremely sudden, horrendous, or devastatingly real, like being atomized by a lightning bolt or being torn to pieces by a pack of wolves, there is a 1 to 50% chance of character lapsing into a coma and actually dying unless he receives medical treatment. See recovery from coma, blah, blah, blah. However, death and serious trauma are rarities. Note that it's possible for the living victim of an illusion to defeat his illusionary opponent. An extremely confident, positive, or driven character may actually defeat his illusionary foe, play out like a normal combat. When this happens, the illusionary enemy is killed and the illusion instantly ends. A character with an extremely high ME, meaning 20 plus, may also have the ability to defeat his imaginary adversary in the course of perceived normal combat. So, if your mental endurance is 20 or more, your brain power is enough to actually cause damage to the illusion being projected to you. To your friends, you're swinging at air, but you can overcome. This is very Matrix-like.
Right.
Some illusionists, powers and abilities, psychic powers, meditation, yada, yada. The illusionist weapons and armor. Any weapon can be used, but not being very familiar with the ways of combat, they are most likely to use a small range of common weapons such as swords, knives, blunt, or staves. Most illusionists tend to wear light armor. with a preference for hard leather, studded leather, or chainmail. They never wear heavy armor such as plate or splint unless it is magically made to be lightweight. Magic weapons, armor, and items are usually seen as desirable. So, and then there's as it go up in levels, there's certain the more advanced your psychic abilities are that you can, your illusionary psychic abilities. So level 1, basically sound. You can manipulate sound. You can make people hear things. Level 2, more advanced sounds. Level 3, you can actually start making people see things. Level 4, you can put sound and images together. Level 5, you can start manipulating smells and odors. Level 6, sound and odor. Level 7, taste, image, sound, and odor. So you can actually make people taste things. Level 8, you're starting to get into the mass hypnotic illusion. Level 9, you can affect touch. Level 10, multiple images with sound. Level 11, all 5 elements. Level 12, multiple images with sound and odor. Level 13, multiple illusion with all 5 elements. Level 14, the panorama. The final step in the mastery of illusion is the creation of an entire panoramic environment. This could be a building, a forest, etc. All 5 senses are affected, but while birds, insects, and non-threatening wildlife animals may be heard or seen in the distance, there are no menacing monsters or attackers. This illusion is limited to the panoramic setting of an environment. However, the illusionist, working in concert with other illusionists, can introduce an attacker as per any of the other types of illusions described previously. Then we get to level 15, magnified illusion. This is the ability to punch up the illusion, single or multiple in increasing range and effect and duration. The psionic boost doubles the range, doubles the duration, makes all those caught in the range of illusion -1 to save, and doubles the amount of images. So the higher up you go, the more you can actually start manipulating the surroundings and everything. Really, really good class. I see this being the perfect villain if you use it as an NPC, or you could definitely create not really, I wouldn't call it, maybe a tank if you use an illusion as a tank. I don't know. Something to draw the fight out a little bit, but
right. It'd be dangerous, but if you're good enough, absolutely.
Oh yes. So what you got next?
All right. So this is what I consider one of my favorite cleric roles. This is the classic cleric role. Forge is pretty much, it's a clear front line combat, unique with its utility and support roles. The Forge domain is an excellent way. The Forge domain is an excellent way to have every aspect. Forge domain clerics make good defenders and have enough damage output to be a big threat on the battlefield, even without relying on some spell casting. The Dominion spells that they use are incredible. The Forge Dominion spells list is almost entirely composed of spells not normally available to the cleric sections. They're including a whole bunch of offensive options from the Paladin spell list and a whole bunch of utility options from the Wizard spell list. First level, identify is occasionally necessary. You can generally wait to take it, but Searing Smite is good to carry on both spells. Normally a Paladin executive spell or something to help your DCs get higher is a good way to go. Even at a higher level, it remains cheap, reliable damage boost weapons for your attacks on all your weapons. Third level, you get a decent outgoing damage and access to a critical buff, which is actually normally only available to Paladins and Wizards. Once again, like I said there, the Dominion, the domain spell itself, the Forge domain spell, is absolutely anchored around offensive and being that defensive role as well if you need it. Fifth level, another excellent Paladin executive spell and crucial defensive options. This one comes in, like I said, once again, give you a very good offensive option and defensive option. Seventh level, neither one of these spells is on the cleric list, and both of them are actually very excellent to use, though somewhat situational. Ninth level, once again, these spell lists are not on the cleric list, and they're all absolutely fantastic. These are, if you want to be, like I said, that front line, the bread and butter cleric, the what is known as the war cleric itself, Forge is definitely the way to go with you. You get bonus proficiencies. Obviously, heavy armor. You want to be heavy armor, especially on the front line. But it's important to be a frontline cleric with the Forge domain because most of your stuff is within touch or within right in front of you range. Blessing of the Forge, put a +1 weapon into the party on a fully functional basis. Yes, that's right, buddy. That means if you can only sit out there and destroy a monster with a magical weapon, guess what? Your cleric, Blessing of the Forge, can take care of that for you. It doesn't use any magic items, but it does have a wonderful flexible buff that allows your party to have, should you not have any magical weapons at the time. Channel of Divinity, Artisan's Blessing. It's another situation, but extremely versatile. If you're trapped in a pit, you can make a ladder, stuck in a door, make a ram. If you're trapped, like if you got locks on you, make a pick lock. You can literally make anything appear out of nowhere. Soul of the Forge, damage resistance, obviously you like that, but a fixed bonus to AC is extremely rare in 5th edition, and I will take that anytime. You heard that right. A fixed bonus to your AC. Not no little bonus that only appears when you're down hit points or only appears when you're at this situation. No, it's permanent and it's fixed, just for taking the Forge Divinity. Divine Strike, no action required, free damage, nice and simple. Who doesn't like that? Come on. And if you combine that with Searing Smite, pow, 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 big damage. Saint of the Forge and Fire. This is probably, in my opinion, one of the most damaging output things a cleric can do, especially if it's in the right situation and you're doing a lot of the follow-ups to be with it. Forget it. You are... People are patting you on the back and saying, dude, not only did you heal us, you just killed that thing too, and we appreciate you. We appreciate you, and we love you. The next subclass is called Grave. It's a domain that focuses a little bit on healing and a little bit of damage, but it offers a very fine balance between offensive and healing. Unlike the Forge, which is offensive and defensive, the Grave is more offensive and healing. Obviously, their Dominion spells, they're very useful. They're a lot to do with healing. False Life provides temporary hit points for an hour. That's always nice. First level spell, it eventually becomes trivial, obviously, when you get higher hit points, but a very low level, that's very fantastic. Third level, you get 2 situation spells, but they're pretty good. 5th level, Relifying is obviously the cleric tax, as every cleric should take it in because it's not too good to do so. Vampiric Touch is a great option if you get dragged into melee, but obviously if you're picking this cleric itself, you're not going to be on the front lines as much as a Forge would. You kind of want to play behind your tank, so that way you're playing that quote-unquote healing role. At 7th level, you get a decent damage option that's not normally on the cleric list, but you get a critical buff that's huge and has a very long duration, depending on your stats and how you have it set up. 9th level, Anti-Life Shell is a fantastic defensive option, which will keep melee enemies at bay while you kill them with ranged spells. You can actually, saddling this with Raise the Dead, you can literally just put it right on top of you and make yourself just a walking ball of anti-death. Circle of Morality, this is an ability now. It makes Cure Wounds considerably more appealing when an ally is at 0. It can be abused by taking allies who are at very few hit points, beating them unconsciousness to get an extra free healing. You heard that right. If you really want to if you want to abuse this ability, it works if your ally is at 0 hit points. So as a cleric, you turn around and you bip your friend. Say your friend's at 4 hit points, and it's your turn. Well, you bip them for 4 hit points, and it brings him to 0, and for a free action, he gets free healing. I know it's a cheesy way to do the system. You can thank my boy Jakers for that option. He always comes up with cheesy shit like that. But there you go. If you guys want to use that, feel free. Eyes of the Grave. Detect Evil. It's a cleric spell. It does the same thing as Detect, Cure, all the rest of it. It's not a huge thing. It's not a reason to take this class. Channel Divinity, Path of the Grave. Use this with a rogue and a spellcaster that does high damage, something like an attack that does harm. Boom, you're talking mega damage. Like I said, that's if you have a rogue and if you have a wizard out there, it modifies their attack. Sentinel at Death's Door. Critical hits on your allies can turn tough fights into crushing defeat on single rolls. The ability which mitigates critical hits are few and far between, making this a rare and potential offline. And essentially, it turns your critical hits. It gives you an ability to get more critical hits. Potent spell casting, not a ton of damage, but it's a welcome boost for your opponent or for your allies. Keeper of Souls. You probably won't provide a significant amount of healing, but it's a very passive ability, and it allows you to rescue an ally with 0 points without cutting into any of your actions that turn. So it's essentially if somebody drops down to 0 and he's next to you for a free action, it doesn't even come out of your actions. Boom, he gets up with a free heal. So it's like this cleric is very much like Final Fantasy's Eris. You remember Eris from Final Fantasy?
Oh yeah.
You just kind of like held her back held her back. Like she couldn't take the damage, but if you just held her where she was, she automatically healed like where it was needed. And this class does that very well. If you need somebody who not only can heal you when they need to be healed, but can situational heal when people are dropping down to 0, this is the cleric for you. The Knowledge Divinion is it's a good subclass. It's not one of the better ones, but it's a good one. They have a lot of mundane magic, potentially metagames. The spell list is very disappointing. It doesn't provide a whole lot of options, unfortunately. I mean, kind of go through it, read it yourself, and see if you want to go down that path. But for my honest opinion, they're very situational. So it's really if you're playing a game, like I said, we brought it up with the rogues when we talked about the rogues. Sometimes you get into these campaigns that are very political, very cloak and daggerish, and this would be a very good cleric for that. Command spells at first level. Identify is very situational, but like I said, it's a good thing to have. Third level, Suggestion, once again, situational. Augurial is easily one of the favorites out there. Takes a bit of practice and familiarity, but if you and your DM kind of work with it, you can actually make this be kind of a situational woe to your magical problems, if it were. So once again, got to be situational. Fifth level, once again, these options, the spells available to you are very situational. It's one of those cloak and daggers setups. Arcane Eye at 7th level is an effective way to scout nearby areas, which could be dangerous. We also brought that up in one of the first ones. They had like a very similar Arcane Eye, the Arcana cleric there. Confusion is a difficult spell to use, but if you use it right, you can use it very. The problem is it goes against a wisdom savings throw, and honestly, most monsters' wisdom is pretty good. As one of our buddies, Brian, will tell you, his bard constantly has me make wisdom checks, and 9 times out of 10, I would say probably about 8 times out of 10, I'm making that wisdom check. So it's to have that be brought down is a nice thing to use, But if you can't bring that down, it's very situational. 9th level, we get Legend of Lore and Scrying. Once again, these are situational things. If it's Scrying is taking the ability to put it down in Legend of Lore, is how well you can prepare for something. It's very rare that you're going to use these, but like I said, in a political cloak and dagger campaign, it can be there. And don't forget, a lot of these subclasses do come out in quote unquote supplemental books and other things like that. So you got to look into the lore of that, and that could very much come from a quote-unquote political cloak and dagger campaign, and that's why they made this. Blessings of knowledge. 2 languages are obviously nice, but you gain access to tongues. 2 free knowledge skills are also more important since you get to add twice to the proficiency bonus. So proficiency bonuses, don't forget, when you add it twice to it, it increases it. Channel Divinity, Knowledge of the Ages. This is fantastic ability, utility upgrade. Forget to bring a robe, grab some Thieves' Tools. It allows you to use something else outside of your class to its fullest ability. Channel Divinity, Read Thoughts, Read Minds, once again, situation, but very useful. Suggestion can be very effective, also situational. And last but not least, Potent Spellcasting. I think you see a lot of this showing up in all the clerics. It's a good way to boost your spells, especially you can have a 20 wisdom at this point because you're level 20. So it's not hard to believe that you put all your points into wisdom. So you can give an impressive damage boost out to this. This only applies to the cleric cantrips because you can't use it in conjunction with the magic initiate. But like I said, for a cantrip doing that much damage, not bad at all. I have life, light, and nature, order, tempest, and trickery left. And war. I'm sorry. War 2.
Ooh.
So did you want to cut in?
Just real quick, I want to touch on the Palladium Minotaur race. And one of the reasons I want to do that is because the Minotaur is it's a very special race in the Palladium game. Obviously, that's pretty much as the same as the D&D Minotaur. Obviously, it's a they call it in Palladium. They say it's a giant's body with a bull's head, but they're about 8 to 11 feet. So if you consider that a giant, I guess. The thing with the Minotaurs is they never establish it 100%, but the Minotaurs are rumored to be ancient minions of the old ones, and they're also very rare, on the verge of extinction. They think there's probably maybe no more than I think 5,000 to 8,000 of them left in the world, and they prefer to live underground or abandoned kobold dwarf castles, places like that.
Right.
The thing with the Minotaur that makes so special is they're mostly warrior occupational character classes using large axes, swords, that kind of thing. But they do occasionally get into some magic OCCs, Chaos Priest, Disciples of the Old Ones, Necromancer, and some other practitioners of magic. The Disciple of the Old One is interesting because it's basically a Minotaur witch. So the rules are basically the same for rolling up a witch for this Disciple of the Old Ones. A witch allied to the Old Ones is another comparatively common magic user among Minotaurs. These characters are evil, mean-spirited creatures who frequently go into the world to make trouble. At least 50% of all Minotaur witches establish a lair and minions to cause mayhem for surface dwellers. These foul creatures... a
bunch of jerks.
Yeah, these foul creatures will often join other creatures of darkness to better serve their masters, who dream of sorrow, despair, murder, war, and chaos. Others serve as advisors, leaders, and protectors of their people. In either case, they make great NPC villains. The creation of a Disciple of the Old Ones is fundamentally the same as the Witch OCC. The Minotaur must make a major pact and gets the Mark of Evil, which is the third nipple with 1d4 plus 3 tiny tentacles extending from it. Ew. Yep. With the bonus powers of the major pact maker is different. The bonus power of major pact makers, the Disciple of the Old Ones is a major pact maker who is given incredible power. The character can select any one of 3 gifts described in the RPG and 2 of the following bonus powers. Once selection has been made, they cannot be changed. All effects are permanent. They can choose, I believe it's supernatural healing. Bioregenerates 46 hit points at will, as often once per melee round. So they can heal. They could use one of their attacks to just heal themselves during combat. So that makes them pretty tough Summon lesser demons, devils, or lesser supernatural beings. The character can summon 1d4 lesser demons, devils, or other supernatural beings, but this is possible only through a link with a greater familiar. Can be attempted once every 12 hours with a 40% plus 2% chance of success per level of experience. 5 minutes minimum of meditation and prayer are required. Command the dead. Animate and control 46 dead. Also able to turn the dead. Functions like a magic spell of the same name. Command creatures of pestilence. The ability to summon and control 1d4 times 10 rats or mice or a swarm of 100 flies, fleas, ticks, or mosquitoes per level of the witch. In both cases, the swarm of animals or insects has a horror factor of 12. The creature understands only simple commands like attack, stay, or stop them. Those attacked by 10 or more rats or mice might suffer 2d6 points of damage per melee round, lose initiative, lose 2 attacks per melee. The penalties come from being distracted by the attacking rodents and having to brush them away off. The character can spend all of his attacks actions per melee round and suffer only 1d4 damage, but can do nothing but knock the creature off him. Characters clad in full body armor with a tight-fitting helmet and no or few openings in the armor are virtually invulnerable, but will still suffer from the initial horror factor. Note that many suits of chainmail and other armor may leave the face, neck, hands, or underarms exposed or have openings which the creature can crawl into and get inside the armor. Psychic vampire. The witch no longer needs food and water to survive. Instead, he or she feeds on the emotions of those around him. Sorrow, despair, anger, and hate are the sweetest, but fear, envy, and lust are adequate substitutions. Feelings of love, happiness, peace, serenity, other positive, joyous emotions are disgusting and make the character want to vomit. Consequently, the disciple of the Old One will try to diminish the positive and uplifting emotions to stimulate dark, turbulent feelings. So this witch is a prick.
I would say yes.
Yes. Invulnerable to poison. No type of poison toxin can hurt or affect the witch except magic, but even then the character is +2 to save. So the Minotaur witch, a little more juiced up than a normal witch, more connected to the old ones, in league with the dark ones, or dreaded ones, I think they're called. Minotaur Chaos Priest is a priest of darkness who worships one or more old ones. The priest is able to draw upon the powers of these nightmarish creatures even when they languish in their subconscious state. The character is fundamentally the same as the priest of darkness with the following changes. Power of darkness. Exorcism is replaced by the power of soul searching. Remove curse is replaced by touch of evil. Soul searching. The name describes a priest's power to see or sense the dark and hostile emotions and desires of a person before him. The use of this power counts as a psionic attack equal to a master psionic. 15 or higher is needed to save. Each of the soul searching power costs 3 PvE, yada yada. Touch of evil. A power enables the evil priest to bring a character's dark inner feelings and thoughts to the surface. Hate, anger, envy, lust for vengeance, murder, prejudice, etc. The victim must make a roll to save her psionic attack, 16 or higher to save. Otherwise, he or she will be temporarily overwhelmed by the emotions, 1d4 minutes per level of the priest. The intensity of the emotion is very similar to being so angry that one feels like he's ready to explode. It is the type of boiling emotion that causes one to lash out verbally or physically in a hostile manner, to deliberately hurt another person. Whether the character acts on the emotions is left up to the player in the particular situation. Time for some role-playing. We've all had hostile and cruel and devious thoughts from time to time, but usually, I would hope, find these dark emotions and elect to do what we know is right, i.e. not to punch somebody, call names, steal, cheat, etc. However, like I said, like we've said this before, if you're playing a character of what's called, selfish alignment in Palladium or the evil alignments in Dungeons and Dragons, you need to play out your character. So if you suddenly have this come to the surface, it's would be in your character's, what's the word I'm looking for? It wouldn't be uncommon for him to like lash out at the other players. Not that. Yes, exactly. Not that you want
his how he is.
Exactly. So I just thought bringing up the Minotaur would be a good deal because he does change some of the existing character classes based on what it does, and
it makes sense. Yeah. Like I said, Minotaur came in. It's not an official race in Wizards of the Coast yet, but people have come up with their own player as we call homebrew, and I allowed it in my world, which is why he's Minotaur, or Jake is a Minotaur. But it's a really cool character class, and if done right, can be very fun.
Yeah, and in fact, I should say this is an optional class in Palladium. Like it says, be careful about letting players play it, and obviously, I probably would. I mean, it's a mythical type character. It's part of been part of fantasy for years, going all the way back to Clash of the Titans and fast forward to today. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. So real quick, I just want to let people, I was actually the knowledge cleric is actually found in the player's handbook. So it isn't one of those, it is one of those things that I guess Wizards of the Coast just said to themselves, you know what, let's make one of these cloak and dagger. It seems like they have one of those for everyone. Just so people know, we are getting a lot of this. For example, the Arcana one come from the Sword Coast Adventures Guide. If you don't have that, then obviously go out and grab it, because there are a lot of these supplements that come out with D&D. They're not all the time, but they'll have a new subclass for a lot of the classes out there, not to mention new races. So it's, even though you're not interested in, say, the supplemental itself, you might be interested in the race that's in there or the class that's in there. So keep that in mind. The death, which we talked about earlier, that you can find in the DM's guide. The Forge, you can find in Xanther's Guide to Everything. That's the Forge Cleric Dominion, as well as the Grave. You can also find that one there. Knowledge, like I said, was in Player's Handbook. You can find that there. Life is in Player's Handbook, which we'll be going over. Light is in Player's Handbook, which I'll be going over. Nature, Player's Handbook. Order, you can find in the Guildsmaster Guide to Ravnica. Ravnica? Yeah, Ravnica. There's a lot of races in there. That is a big one. There's also a lot of really cool subclasses in there. One of them, Order, which is one of my favorites for the Cleric I'll be talking about, comes from there. And last but not least, Tempest, Player's Handbook, Trickery, Player's Handbook, and War, Player's Handbook. So you start off with Player's Handbook and D&D. Obviously, you get most of the Clerics subclasses in there. But if you want the other ones, be looking for the Sword Coast Adventures Guide and Guildsmaster's Guide to Ravnica. Of course, Xanathar's Guide to Everything was one of the first ones that ever came back and is essential for anybody that wants to play in these worlds. Heading on to the life. Magical healing is probably one of the Cleric's most friggin' obvious things out there. Think of the White Mage from Final Fantasy. Dominion spells, low-level options are absolutely fantastic, obviously, because they need to be, keep you alive. Also, a lot of the essential spells required for a Cleric to take. Unfortunately, the higher-level options are pretty much less than useful. So if you wanted to say this would be a really good multi-class to only bring to, say, like level 10 and then totally go into another one, because the later spells aren't that great. This is really a very good beginning, like first like 1 through 9, maybe 1 through 11 type thing to go through there. First level, every Cleric will take these. Cure Wounds is basically the survival of any D&D. Bless, obviously same thing. Third level, you'll get Lesser Restoration, which is nice to have. It's less time and effects, obviously removes all the things. Spiritual Weapon is fantastic to have. Bonus action, of course. If you use life clerics will typically take the word of healing. So much of your time, bonus actions will be dedicated to healing. A lot of your bonus actions will be used towards that healing, especially someone like him. Beacon of Hope, level 5 situation, but it's nice to be able to cast before a rest to maximize its effectiveness of any of the healing spells. Rectify is the Cleric tax, so getting it for free is very nice. 7th level. 2 interesting options with 8-hour durations. And then, once again, like I said, 9th level, Mass Cure is redundant with Reserve Life. And if you need Raise Dead prepared every day, you're either in a terrible game or you're playing with a Zealot Barbarian. Oh my God, we talked about that earlier. Now, like I said, this is one of those perfect. We don't talk about the multi-classing in this a lot, but this is one of those ones. It's perfect to multi-class in. I'll tell you that. Bonus proficiencies, heavy armor and shields you can work with on the front line, but it also can help you equip, like, say, another weapon. Disciple of Life isn't a ton of healing, but it's especially useful when you use it with the Word of Healing. Channel Divinity, Preserve Life, fantastic when you're looking at a possible total party knockout. Since you're healing so much, most characters in your level will go from 0 to halfway points. You guys have seen this plenty of times. Unless you're looking at something like a barbarian with, D12 hit dice and a 20 constitution. Even then, you're kind of looking at, very high drops in higher level situations. Blessed Healer, coupled with your excellent AC, there's almost never a reason to cast a healing spell on yourself, because when you use this, it'll resort back to yourself. You'll get these TPs, temporary hit points. Divine Strike, clerics don't get an extra attack, so weapon damage will start falling down somewhere around level 5. Divine Strike does help a little bit, but you might find yourself using cantrips to do more damage in certain situations than your actual mace itself. Supreme Healing, as you add more and more dice to your rolls, your skill towards your statistics average, meaning that each D8 from Cure Wounds is effectively about 4.5 rounds of healings, maximizing the effectiveness that you do during your healing. It pretty much essentially guarantees that you're getting above average healing when you use this. So very, like I said, life class, the healer. That is your white mage from Final Fantasy. Light. The Light Cleric is a controller and a striker, specializing in dealing damage to both single targets and to areas. They have a Radiant spell, which is fantastic. They have some of the best fire damage in the game, and actually, it's pretty close to, if you have a wizard on there, you're pretty damn close to it. I mean, you're right up there. The Dominion spells, or domain spells of Light, is offensive. All offensive. It's anywhere between clerics and wizards. Level 1, you get Fairy Fire is a good way to take care of invisible creatures, but it also helps options for your allies that can't rely on attacks. It's a good way to get advantage against multiple targets. Burning Hands is a great low-level AoE spell. Also, it has the resist the urge to burn all your spell slots. You won't have it. It'll be a lower level. Third level, you get Scorching Ray. It's a great option. Blessed to run the blessed to ruin the boost of the attack rolls. Flaming Spear is strictly worse than your spiritual weapon, but it's good enough that you can consider it when not using, or if you haven't prepared your spiritual weapon. Fifth level Daylight is situational. Fireball is the sledgehammer of every offensive spell out there, my friend. Pretty much you got a problem, Fireball will solve it. Seventh level. You got some excellent area control options here, obviously. Ninth level, Flame Strike is considerably less important since you get the Fireball, but the scrying is also very situational. Bonus cantrips. They're not spectacular, but Light Cleric should have a light, and someone in every party should be able to cast it. This is for your people that can't see in the dark, obviously. And if you're doing a lot of dungeon spelunking, it's a pain in the ass to carry a torch and try to fight with a two-handed weapon barbarians. So you will love your Light Cleric to be able to cast that little ball of light next to you so you can see in the dark. You're welcome. Warding Flare. You won't get a ton of uses, so save this for enemies that can do a lot of damage on a single attack. This needs to be activated before an attack hits or misses. It's frustrating. This D&D does a good job of actually wording out their things, unlike 40K. But this is one of those ones that's actually vague by terms. So what you need to do, so essentially your DM could roll, does a 25 hit. And your DM has to tell you, you have to essentially let out the information of if it's going to hit or not. Me as a DM, I already give the information, so it's not a big, it's not a big thing. With this, for DMs that don't like to let the information out, this is kind of a critical thing between player and DM. Channel Divinity, Radiance of the Dawn. The damage isn't great beyond low levels, but magical darkness can really cause a problem and guarantee a way for it to actually be pretty convenient. Improved Flare. Fantastic if you have allies who are squishier, like a wizard or a rogue, and you need to buy some time so you can heal somebody. Potent spell casting, like I said, you're going to see this on every cleric. Once again, it just improves the abilities and improves your it improves the boost of the damage output depending on what you're throwing on there. And last but not least, the Corona of Light. If you're anything like me, you want to make a joke right now, but I'm better than that. It's actually an overdrive button for your fire and radiant damage spells. It's especially nice when you use the Light of Domain, but if you use the Light Domain's Dominion spell on this, and then you're going for that maximum fire damage.
Let me guess. It has a range of 6 feet away.
Yeah.
That was my tasteless joke.
Yes. That is a tasteless joke, you bastard. I believe Rob plays the light cleric. I believe. I'm not entirely sure. I believe that's the path that he chose.
I'm not sure. He doesn't cleric a lot.
Will solve any problem. It's nice for a cleric to be able to have that ability. You know what I'm saying? That it is a nice ability. Nature is the next one I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna hit this one up very quick because I don't like nature. It has a very lackluster spell list, much like knowledge. It's only really good functions against like small like monsters, like a little amount of monsters from the Monstrous Manual. The spells like Channel Divinity are a major part of the cleric's operations. It doesn't. If you have a ranger out there or a druid out there, it just seems really pointless to break out the whole nature aspect of a cleric. Once again, the Dominion spells, they're not really fantastic. Seriously, if you got a druid or just go with them. First level, not too great. Third level, Barkskin isn't worth the concentration, but maybe dropping a spike grow on it, maybe. Fifth level, plant grow. Once again, it's like situational. You know, this is Windwall is nice, but once again, situational. Seventh level, Grasp and Vine is once again one of those situational things. It doesn't seem like it holds anything from moving. Like once you set up the vines, the target can literally move out of the vines. It doesn't like hold them in place. It damages them, but it doesn't hold them in place. So it's kind of a lackluster spell. Ninth level, Insect Plague is a good crowd control option. Tree Stride is a fun long-range travel option. But if you got like a teleport option or something like that, you're a lot better. I just don't see Acolyte of the Nature. You can actually use some druid cantrips, which is nice. The bonus proficiency, which they all have. Channel Divinity is actually is charm animals and plants. Once again, very situational, and there's a very slim number of animals and plants that you can actually charm. Dampen Elements. This is actually pretty useful. You can actually bring down the ability, the power, and the strength of elements. So it's just not worth going that whole class just for that. You know, Divine Strike. It's actually better than the Life Clerics version, which is kind of like, oh, go fuck yourself. This is the reason why you picked this, I guess, and go all the way to the end of it. But it's your damage. It's your major damage. And then Master of Nature. Once again, very situational, but it does allow you to actually pull off some pretty cool things if your DM is in cahoots with you, so to say. Order. Easily, in my opinion, one of the most powerful options. Order is the best way for a cleric to lead and support their party. Obviously, you want heavy armor in here. You have a voice of authority, which gives you force multipliers for everybody in your party. You do high level of damage on Divinion Strike. Your Order Wrath provides all kinds of things. This is one of the better ones, in my opinion, to go with. Dominion Spells isolates between pairs of fantastic options and situational options. However, it's pretty good because these situational options come across more than you'd believe. First level spell, they actually both are very good options. They offer a very wide variety of uses, and they actually can continue well on the high levels. Third level, Hold Person is very situational, but can be handy in a campaign where a lot of humanoid enemies are about. Zone of Truth is rarely important in a campaign. However, it will show up situationally. We bring that word up a lot. Fifth level, the staple Cleric spell is obviously a great control spell. Seventh level, they're also both very situational. Ninth level, Commune is one of the absolute favorite dimensions. It's versatile, very reliable. Dominate Person is technically situation, but if there's a humanoid in an encounter, it's hard to think of a better spell to cast. Dominate Person is just wrong on so many levels. It is just wrong because as a DM and as a GM, you want to cheat that number so bad and not give it to them. But when your big bad evil guy gets dominated, you can't help it, man. It happens. Bonus proficiencies, obviously heavy weapon. You're going to be there. You're going to be on the front lines. Voice of Authority. I told you this. This is one of the better ones out there. Clerics never get good at weapon attacks. Pretty much, they're very martial-minded. In other words, this gives your rogue a chance to deliver a sneak attack during your turn. Sneak attack is once per turn, not once per round. Keep that in mind. So you can use this. It's essentially it's a way to let one of your buddies use one of their specials during your turn. So you're not a major damage dealer. So what you want to do as a cleric is you want to say your rogue is in a situation where he's already backstabbed that big bad evil guy. Well, use your Voice of Authority and let him do that sneak attack one more time, because that could drop the big bad evil guy. Channel Divinity. This is a basic good one. It's nice, though. Orders demand disarm every target within 30 feet on a failed will save. Excellent against humanoid creatures, but very useless against monsters. Humanoid creatures tend to use weapons, which they hold, so they can drop them. Monsters tend to have their weapons attached to them, so they can't be disarmed. So it's one of those, once again, humanoid enemies, great. Monsters, not so much. Embodiment of Law, 3 to 5 times a day doesn't seem like a lot, but even with the Order's domain, emphasis on enchantment spells, that's enough to cover most situations where you want to cast an enchant and do some other actions on the same turn. Divine Strike, because of the weird levels at which this scales, you'll go back and forth with your cantrips, which will do the most damage. Once again, clerics aren't known to do their damage with their maces. 9 times out of 10, you're going to go back to using your cantrips on a higher level. What this does is it allows you to either take that ability and make your strike harder or work onto your cantrips, depending on what you take. Order's Wrath is an ideal use for case as is to strike your enemy with a weapon as well as your divine strike damage. Then cast a leveled spell as a bonus action to trigger the Voice of Authority, and have your ally hit the same trigger for the bonus action. That initially means you're dealing 4d8 psychic damage, plus whatever damage your weapon does, plus whatever your ally's weapon does. Put that all together, and that's a pretty sizable attack right there. It's almost like the Warlord, that office, that ability. The Tempest, very, very offensive, falling somewhere between life. The Tempest has a very good crowd control ability. Their first level Fog Cloud, great escape mechanism, or crowd control. Thunder Wave is great if you're getting if you're getting way over your head. Third level, both spells, once again, situational. Fifth level, Sleet Storm is mediocre crowd control, but Call Lightning is great. You can start your cloud at the beginning of the fight and spend the next 10 minutes killing things with a single spell slot, since damage scales at 1d10 per level. Remains visible into the higher levels. So that's 1d10 per level. So at that point, you're thinking of third level spells, fifth level, you're probably getting a couple more levels off of that. So yeah, that's going to do some damage. Seventh level, Ice Storm combines decent damage with small crowd control effect, but control water is only useful on those rare days when you actually have a large body of water handy nearby. Unless you have a Minotaur in your party and he carries a big sack of water on his back all the time for you. Level 9, Destructive Wave does, 9th level, I'm sorry, Destructive Wave does excellent damage in types which are rarely resisted, and Insect Plague is a fantastic area control option. I like that Insect Plague, I really do. Bonus proficiencies, Heavy Armor, Martial Weapons, and the Wrath of the Storm, you might even consider picking up a two-handed weapon with a Cleric. That's an option with the Tempest. I would say with the Tempest only. Wraith of the Storm at a low level, you can outright kill enemies. The high levels, it's a mild deterrent, but hopefully it won't get you used to it. Won't get much because you should have an excellent AC. It pretty much allows you to do the van damage that you want to do at a low level. Very useful for a beginning off party. You're actually going to end up doing the damage dealing before your damage dealers know what they're doing. Thunderbolt Strike combines well with the Wrath of the Storm, which you got to get out of melee for whatever reason. Whatever, obviously, because it's a Thunder Strike. Divine Strike, Thunder is one of those handy handful energy types that has nothing resilient or immune to it, so it's a great option. However, you can't shift energy types to gain the bonus like a Nature Cleric, so you won't be getting the high damage bonus against undead like a Life Cleric. And last but not least, Stormborn, near permanent flight. Flight is absolutely crucial at high levels, and getting this is easily, as early as you can, free up resources for more exciting things. That's right, near permanent flight. You're pretty much, think of yourself like Black. Who's the Rock playing now?
Oh, Black Adam.
Black Adam. How he just kind of floats. That's what your guy's doing.
Yep.
He just sits there and floats. All right, so the last two we'll run through real quick. Trickery and War. Trickery, I really broke that down in the beginning. It's got a good spell list, but the class abilities really aren't that good. To be honest with you, I don't know, man. Let me just run it through real quick. A lot of fun options. They're not normally available for Clerics. Level 1, you get Decide Self and Charm Person. Once again, situational. Charm Person can be completely replaced by Real Face later. Third level, Mirror Image is better than having a decent AC. Pass Without a Trace turns a party of stompy fighters into roaming quiet murderers. So, that's nice. Fifth level, Blink gives you a 50% chance of being untargetable between turns, which is nice because you want to be the healer, and because you're the healer, most things are going to be targeting you. Dispel Magic is situation, but extremely useful. Don't forget that. That's one of those ones that you don't want to not have prepared. A lot of people don't prepare it. That's a very lethal mistake, high levels. Level 7, Dimension Door situation, but very effective. Polymorph is one of the most versatile, fun things you can do in this game. It can allow you to solve a huge variety of problems with the right beast form. That's correct, and once again, if you're smart about it, you can use this for many times. Ninth level, Modify Memory is situation, but Dominate Person is a great way to turn a powerful enemy into a fun pet for up to a minute. Once again, this Dominate Person comes up. It is a nightmare for a DM to fail Dominate Person. Let me just say that. Blessing of the Trickster. You can't use this on yourself, so you use it on whoever in your party is making a ton of noise stomping around in heavy armor. Hopefully it's not you. If you're doing this trickster, you're using medium armor anyways. You're using leather and all that other stuff, so you're not making the noise. Channel Divinity, Invoke Duplicity. This can be difficult to use effectively, but once you actually have your head around it, it can actually be really potent. Channel Divinity, Cloak of the Shadows. Invisibility is great, but let's be honest, a round of invisibility isn't all that great. Divine Strike. We've been here before. A lot of things have resistance to poison, but nothing has weakness to poison. So much of the damage poison will be helpful. Improved Duplicity. This allows you to keep duplicates near all of your enemies to buff them, heal them with touch or without the touch range spells, and keep your enemies very, very confused. Like I said, the Trickery is a cool little spin on what you're normally used to on a cleric. But unless you don't need that rogue, unless you don't need that sneakiness, don't go with it. There's so many more fun options out there. War is the last one. War Cleric reduces the gap between Cleric and the Paladin, emphasizing frontline martial power with a little bit of spell casting. It's a fun concept with several great options. It's often difficult to use the war domain options in conjunction with so many of the things, but if you use these with bonus actions, sometimes you can find this very fun. Dominion spells are very fantastic, but more than half of the Dominion spells require concentration, which makes them hard to use in more than one or two fights, or use more than one or two in a fight. First level, Divine Favor won't remain useful beyond low levels, but at a low level, it's a nice bit of extra damage with a decent duration at a cost of swift action to cast. Shield of Faith will remain useful at every level, plus 2 AC is big in 5th edition, and 10 minutes is a fantastic duration for any spell slot. However, it requires concentration, like we talked about earlier, meaning you can't combine it with other great level low buffs like Bless. Third level, since magic weapon requires concentration, generally you only want one if you permanently lack magical weapons, and only against weapons that have a non-magical threat. Spiritual weapon is a great way to convert your bonus action into the damage output, which we talked about before. Gives you that +1 bonus to any normal weapon. 5th level, Crusader's Mantle is a divine favor for the whole party. The damage is small, but you still have someone. But if you have somebody using like a two-handed weapon fighting, or someone with extra attacks, it gets better. Spiritual Guardians is a good way to either keep enemies away from you or to wear down enemies who aren't able to move away from you to keep out of this aura. 7th level, Stone Skin is a great buff. We've heard this many times before, especially since gold isn't particularly useful. You won't be able to use the Avatar battle, obviously. Freedom of movement is very situation, but very useful. 9th level, Flame Strike is a fantastic damage spell. Hold Monster. That's right, Hold Monster. Not Hold Humanoid, Hold Monster. This actually says Monster. Is a great way to remove an enemy from a fight. Beholder, Dragon, any hookers, any of these nasties that come at you and you're getting attacked from all sides. This gives you the option of taking that big baddie and putting him on pause while you go take care of the rest of it. Huge bonus. Bonus proficiencies, heavy armor, martial weapons. Obviously, you want to help you out. War Priest. You can have as many as 5 extra attacks per day. It's disappointing the fact that it takes your bonus action away. It's unfortunate, but I mean it makes it sound spectacular because priests don't normally get those attacks, you know. Channel Divinity, Guided Strike. It's pretty rare that your attacks are crucial enough to justify using this, but sometimes you just want to hit something only once. I've been there. Channel Divinity, War God's Blessing. While clerics typically don't do a huge amount of damage, allies like rogues certainly do. When they miss their attack, or when they miss their one attack for the round at a +10, they really very miss that chance. So pretty much you can give them +10 to anything when it comes to the attack. Divine Strike. While not as flashy as the Nature Cleric's version of Divine Strike, the ability to deal the same damage as your weapon allows you to change the types with relative ease by changing weapons. So most Divine Strikes, as you heard, it was poison or lightning or fire or light, divine, radiant. This one, it's not an actual damage per se. It's the weapon you use. So it's, once again, it's situation. But if you need something that, say, has to be damaged by fire, as long as you have a weapon that incorporates fire, you'll always have that available to you. Which, like I said, situational, but very good. And last but not least, Avatar Battle. Most damage of these types comes from non-magical weapons or from monsters with non-magical body parts. But this doesn't matter with the Avatar of Battle. So that was a whole crap load of cleric subclasses that you can choose from. The cleric is still the healer of the game. There is nobody better. Bards can do it, yes. Druids can do it, yes. But there is nobody better than a cleric. If you can have two clerics out there, especially with the subclasses, the way that they have it, you can essentially be unstoppable.
Absolutely. Wow. I didn't realize there was so much cleric to go around.
I didn't realize it either until I started putting this all together, and I was like, my God, there is a lot of subclasses of cleric. Most of them you see like 5 or 6, but cleric really breaks it down to like 9.
I think some people too,
there are a lot of different options that you can go with.
Right. And I think some players, they read through some of these subclasses, they might get all overwhelmed and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to stick with the steak and potatoes cleric. And they don't really dive any deeper into it. But like you said, there's some of them that you think are kind of like, kind of filler, for lack of a better term, rather than,
But think of it this way. Maybe like I said, maybe you run two clerics out there. Maybe one goes as that tricky. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you do have the stealth available to you. And then the other one goes as the life. So you have the damage available out there, but you also have two clerics that are very good at healing. So now you can really bring in, say, that berserker, or you could bring in that rager, or whatever, the range guy, the rogue. You know what I'm saying? You'll have the abilities to make that party last.
Absolutely. Well, we've given them like...
Almost 2 hours, I know.
100 minutes of 100 minutes of content. This is what quarantine does to you, folks.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, let's wrap this up real quick. Definitely leave the reviews on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher if you can. Thumbs up on YouTube. Hit the bell. Subscribe. Fire us an email. We're still looking for Pathfinder players that want to talk about the game, and hopefully we'll be back live and in video for you soon.
Yeah, we're hoping. But like I said, I mean, I'm to the point we're roasting through these carts as best as we can. I mean, we're pretty much right on the front lines. So until we have this whole thing under control, unfortunately, the studio will be out of our hands. I'm probably unfortunately thinking we get about 2 to maybe 3 more episodes done like this.
Probably.
We'll be back to you guys real soon. We promise.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be back but hey, let's grab us on audio. You can listen. I still throw it up on YouTube. You can listen to the audio on YouTube. Yeah. And my name's Eddie, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. My name is Mike. You guys be safe out there. We'll see you guys next week. Enjoy and be safe.